SDP the Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Hey, just a reminder, you can get every Steve Dangle Podcast episode for $6.99 ad-free. We're calling it VIP ad-free. And by the way, we do a fourth episode. If you haven't heard that yet, it's pretty awesome and fun. And somebody actually messaged me last night, and they're like, those are my favorite episodes now.
Oh.
Well, it's just
Thank you.
I think it's the whole thing is familiar characters, us, unfamiliar situations, non-hockey content.
Yeah.
Which if you've been around for a long time, you know, but you know, for the last 4 or 5 years, that's all we've done is just straight hockey. So,
Adam, it's Wednesday. It's raining outside. Can I let my intrusive thoughts win?
yeah, of course.
All right, give me a sec.
Oh, this is my.
I just
Jax always loves these, and this drives me crazy. It drives me.
Nobody listening has any idea what.
I got tendrils hanging out. I got curly hair, and it's hanging on my forehead, and it drives me bananas because you know my ADHD goes bonkers.
well, so
I
does
can
mine.
feel it. Yeah,
I gotta look at it, and I keep wanting to bloof it.
I wanted to. I want to say this: if the Leafs get 1 point tonight against the Lightning, guys, they are officially in the playoffs.
Hey.
Woo! Now the way Florida.
Before you move too fast away from SDP VIP.
Oh, sorry.
Just to clarify some things, as I did last episode. There's more things to clarify as we continue to learn how these platforms work.
Got it.
So when you're listening on Apple Podcasts. So like yesterday's episode, if you have the subscription tier, you'll see 2 episodes. Right? There's one that was ad free and one that was just the regular episode with the ads in it. But there's sometimes we can sync the episodes. So moving forward, you're going to see 1 episode. But if you're on the subscription tier, you're going to be able to listen to subscription audio where there's no ads in it. But if you're not on the subscription, you'll just listen to the regular episode. So you're going to see 1 episode there on your Apple Podcast app, and if you're subscribed, it'll automatically serve you the one without the ads. And so that'll be how it's going to be done moving forward. But like previously, you would have seen 2 episodes. So mind the 2 episodes. They're going to live there for now. But today's episode, you'll see 1 episode. And if you're subscribed, it'll serve you the no ad one automatically. If you're on Spotify, there's a whole different feed. So you don't even have to worry about it.
That's an Apple thing.
That's an Apple thing.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because every platform is a little bit different.
Yeah, on YouTube, there's 2 videos. You'll see there's 2 videos there, and you can just choose to watch whichever one you want.
Yep.
And then and then Google Podcast shut down. So
So far, every platform we've had ideas, and they're like, "You can't do that." Like,
it's a little different here.
right.
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But if you listen to us on Google Podcasts, I'm sorry, like Google shut down their podcast department.
We used to do like pretty good numbers on Google Podcasts.
Oh yeah,
too.
a lot of people had the Google Podcast app on their Android phones.
Well, you know, they've run into hard times, Google. They
right.
have no
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, I think they're trying to focus their efforts to YouTube Music. And like
That makes sense.
That side of it, but podcasts don't really work on.
When are we going to get dynamic ad insertion on YouTube? I know I'm a salesperson, but I'm really annoyed with the lack of options on YouTube on that one. Where we
Yes.
can- If we got
if you're like, Adam, I'm not annoyed with that. I don't want it at all. Try SDP VIP ad free.
Speaking of our YouTube channel, I do want to say thanks to everybody who tuned into the stream last night.
I did.
And I know Jesse did. And
I was there,
And
yeah.
Drew was trolling me. He paid $1967.
We had a poll going about who's the better SDPN employee, Drew or Justin.
Who won?
I think Drew came out on top.
What?
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised.
Wow.
Yeah,
me
it
too.
was like 51-49. It was real close.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't think we're over yet. I think we need to make that a 7-game series.
Right?
You know?
keep running it back.
Yeah, we got to do that the next time you do a stream, Steve.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Justin will win.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, because my stream will be more Leaf fans.
Right.
Whereas you were doing a Preds Boston game, it's whoever. I think Leaf fans will profoundly vote against Drew.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think we need to try. You're streaming this Saturday, right?
No, not this Saturday.
Next Saturday?
Yeah, the 13th.
Yeah.
The 13th. Okay, I think on the 13th we need to like lead the stream with who's the best employee.
Don't even say who they're playing.
We got to put their paychecks on the line.
Yeah. Oh, your family didn't eat? Sorry, should have won the popularity
Loser
poll.
doesn't get vacation.
It's like the Joker breaking a pool cue, except way more mundane.
Exactly. Oh, hang on.
Maddie, what do you say?
I don't want any part in this.
No, Maddie wins.
You know what? You weren't going to be,
Yeah.
but now that you mention it, Now that you mentioned it.
Maddie's holding the belt, like they got to take it from her. Like she's U.S. champion right now.
She's also like heading up the switcher and can make us look really shitty.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing a great job. Actually,
Thank you. Yeah.
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
As I said, the Leafs are a point away against the Lightning from being into the playoffs tonight. But what's more important here, guys, is that the Florida Panthers have been bad lately. They lost to the Montreal Canadiens last night. Now, they did not have Carter Verhaeghe. They did not have Matthew Tkachuk. Kind of big losses. It's like the Leafs without Marner and Nylander, or Matthews and Nylander, however you want to look at Ish. I know Verhaeghe's not on that level, but he's still
pretty damn good.
Pretty damn good player, yeah. So I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, okay, the Leafs have 2 games in hand on the Florida Panthers. Okay. They got to win them both. But could we actually be looking at home ice advantage?
It's possible. Like, I didn't allow myself to believe it just because you expect teams to be average-ish.
Yep.
If you're in the playoff picture, you expect to go something like 6-4 in a 10-game span, 7-3, somewhere in that neighborhood. But sometimes one team gets hot and the other team gets really cold. I wouldn't have put my money on the Panthers getting cold. What's really interesting is the Florida Panthers don't appear to give a damn.
Well, they're 2-7-1 in their last 10. I think they care a little bit.
They do care a little bit, and there's obviously some things with their game that they're unhappy with. But I'm struggling to figure out if they're just taking their foot off the gas.
Maybe some injuries, maybe some resting.
Yeah, ahead of the playoffs. Like Carter Verhaeghe, I think Paul Maurice said is week to week. I'm not convinced he would have missed more than a shift if this was a playoff game.
That 2-7-1 is since March 13th. So this is over 2 weeks now. And that would give them the 30th most points since that date.
Wow.
The only team with less points since that date are the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks, who are tied with them at 5 points.
And they're good.
Who? Those two teams?
Yeah.
definitely.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So only the Sharks have less points than the Florida Panthers since March 13th. That's not a great stretch.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Why I think this is a big deal is because, as much as going into a series, like you talked about this on your LFR, I think on Thursday night, Friday morning, whenever I watched it, listened to it the last week, you're saying the Leafs are a good team. They're a really good team. Feeling good about the team. But
I've watched them enough that I'm like, you know what? Great job assembling this team.
Yes. But going into a series against Florida or going into a series against Boston, you kind of mentioned, and I agree with, I think the other teams get the edge.
They've struggled against those teams this year.
And those teams are really good.
Yes.
I think that it's interesting for Florida. If they are taking their foot off the gas, maybe it benefits them. However, the matchup doesn't, because there's a big difference between playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round, whether they win or lose, and playing the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Washington Capitals. And they were in line to play one of those two teams.
Right.
Now, it's not that the Lightning are bad in the playoffs. We know they're really good, but we know that second wild card, and we'll get to the terrible wild card race in the East and the West.
Man,
Don't expand the playoffs, please.
No, I'm in for expanding the playoffs, but
I was.
But Washington is
I'm not anymore.
This season ruined it.
but Washington is a far different opponent. I don't want to say easier, but it's easier.
Well, it's interesting. You have teams who have lots of guys who have won the cup in recent memory on those two teams, right?
Yeah.
In the Lightning and the Caps. And then you have the Leafs who are still, I can't use the word wild card, but they're still a bit of an unknown. And for the Panthers, they're unknown. You beat them last year. And even some of their tough guys who have maybe changed their game a little bit this year, they were on the team last year. You're not afraid of Jake McCabe. You know what I mean? There are a few other guys. I don't know if the Panthers are afraid of anybody.
I don't think they should be.
No.
But I do think it's a different matchup. I do think there's more of an attrition that happens when you're playing the Leafs now versus, a Washington Capitals team.
I also think we're overthinking things.
Okay.
I think sometimes, I was the one who said they're taking their foot off the gas. I'm sure they want to get healthy. So maybe they're taking their foot off the gas in that respect. But I don't think teams win or lose based on who they want to play against in the playoffs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, I have a problem with that.
Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
What specifically?
I think you're wrong. Completely wrong. I think
you think teams blow games on purpose?
No, I think teams want that first spot in their division.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
When you're saying they don't win based on that.
I said they don't win or lose. They don't lose.
Right, but then you just suggested earlier that they've taken their foot off the gas, perhaps.
Yeah, and then I corrected myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it seems like the division title is a little out of reach. Like we talk about how you might be 4 points back, but gaining 4 points in the NHL is a hard thing to do with the extra point system. So I think like right now they're just so far behind the Bruins that I don't think there's a chance. And even if they pass the Bruins, they probably face the Lightning because the Rangers exist and the Hurricanes exist to get that actual number 1 seed. So like I don't think they're too worried about their place in the standings. I think it's just about playing good hockey the next week or so.
I mean, you know what? There's a greater than 0% chance of happening. Leafs versus Tampa, the rubber match.
So
the Leafs would have to pass the Panthers, and so would the Lightning.
Right, but the Lightning are not going to. The Lightning are 10
how
points
far
behind
back
them.
are they?
No, the Lightning are 10 points behind them.
10?
Oh yeah,
Behind the Florida
No,
Panthers.
they're not.
Yeah, they are. Florida's at 99.
Yeah, that's not.
That's
happening.
the gap.
Yeah.
And by the way,
shit.
here's how much first in
never
the
would have
division matters for if winning frankly winning the Eastern Conference matters. If you let's say Washington makes it in, this is the playoff picture you're looking at it right now. If Washington, which is in the second wild card spot, you play them. If you're the Boston Bruins, you have a plus 44 goal differential. They have a minus 35 goal differential. And I know that's just one stat.
Wow.
But there's a huge chasm between what the Panthers are going to face and what the Bruins are going to face.
Right, and the Bruins wouldn't even play them right now.
No,
right?
they'd be playing Tampa.
Yeah. They'd be
Although
Boston.
that would be, I was saying last night on the stream, Bruins Tampa would be incredible.
Be a
Okay.
good game, yeah. Be Rangers Caps.
Good for the Penguins for being in the playoff picture once again. Also, oof.
Yeah.
They don't even have 80 points. And they have 7 games left, and they could very realistically
Can we not
make
get into
it.
that yet? Can we not get into that yet?
Okay,
I'm
fine.
waiting on
Sorry.
that.
I'm like,
I'm talking about Florida and the Leafs.
It's on the screen, which means I see it, which means it erases everything that's being said.
Well, there's an interesting wrinkle to the Pittsburgh thing. That's why I'm saving it.
Home
But
ice, to me, with Florida and Toronto, Toronto struggles so much at home. They get the yips when their own crowd is cheering for them. And, well, their own crowd is sitting on their hands nervously waiting for the Leafs to choke in front of them. So, like, home ice to me doesn't really matter this year. I've seen it too many times. Adam and I have been at too many games where they've blown it. We haven't seen a single playoff win at home.
I know!
The last 3 years.
we haven't seen a single win together. You
No,
and I.
it's been awful. So if they get home ice, if they don't get home ice, I think either way the outcome's going to be the same. Like,
Well,
I'm trying to remember what my last Leaf game I went to was.
I think it was with us
You went to
against with Scotia at the Scotiabank Lounge
No,
with
but
MasterCard.
then I went to Sweden.
Oh.
I think my last game was in Sweden.
Oh.
I've seen more Leaf games in Europe this year than I have in Canada.
Well, that's cool. Now I want to ask this question, guys, for the Toronto Maple Leafs fans in attendance. I know that it's really hard to play here because what happens is when you play at home, the media get on the ice and they go, whoa,
Whoa, they get in your
at
way.
James Myrtle, they actually let him go on the ice and just play as an extra man for the other team.
It's crazy.
It's a new rule the NHL implemented.
and he's tall.
He lacks foot speed, but he's long.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got that reach, you know?
Yeah.
So the media gets on the ice, you're like, whoa, boogeyman. Sorry, Leafs. I was watching, and I've been talking about this a lot. There's a channel on YouTube and that posts old Leafs playoff games. The entire game. So you get to watch the commercials, everything. And it's Bob Cole and Harry
baby.
Neal. And it's funny because so I was watching Game 7, 1994. Who were the Leafs playing? Game 7.
Game 7, 1994. What are you, afraid of sharks or something?
The San Jose Sharks.
Yeah.
And so
when the
first
Leafs
up-
were in the Western Conference.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so here's how Bob Cole starts the game off. He's like, there's 2 goaltenders, and then he said, who playing goal in a Game 7? No, thank you. It's a really funny clip. And then later on in the game, real hardcore. I'm like, if your goaltender 10 the goal, Arturs Urbe is the worst puck handling goaltender I've ever seen in my life.
In 1994.
In 1994, he's horrendous. And they even say it on the TV. They're like, they're like, hey, it's tough for the Sharks defenseman to predict what Arturs Urbe is going to do.
That's really dry.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because if you go and you watch these games on YouTube, and Jesse, you mentioned the noise, the Leaf fans are freaking ear-cracking loud.
It's deafening. Yeah.
They are in the game. They are throwing balloons around. It's Maple Leaf Gardens, but it is rocking in there. And we've been there, Jesse, when the Leafs at least have scored a couple times. It does get loud in the Scotiabank Arena.
Yeah, no, there were some really good playoff games last year where the crowd was loud.
But there's a nervous twitch, I think, from all the recent failures.
The worst one was the Tampa one, where the
Justin Hall
the pick
call
was called because
Yeah.
that entire third period was silent.
Yeah.
in Scotiabank.
Terrible.
That was awful. That was awful energy.
Can I thought we put this to bed 3 years ago when they blew a 3-1 series lead in front of no one.
True.
Empty buildings.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's over.
their easiest chance to run to the Stanley Cup final.
You got it. And whoa, we're so nervous about what?
Do you
The
still have?
concession guy's not even here.
Do you still have the division champs shirt?
Oh no, that's someone in Oshawa's wearing that.
Oh, you donated it.
You donated it.
I donate a lot.
Oh, I would have kept that as like a relic of what the hell. Why did you print this?
I probably should have. I have so much. There's so much memorabilia. I have other people's throwaway memorabilia. We've talked about this before. One of the most unique. I have a one-of-one item in the Blue Room. It is my buddies used to do audio-visual hookup, and I have a spoof movie poster of Wendell Clark in a cowboy hat. It is signed by Wendell Clark, addressed to Joe Bowen.
Wow.
Because my buddies were setting up a TV at Joe Bowen's house, and he has so much memorabilia that he has a signed gift from Wendell Clark, and he's just like, I have nowhere to put it. So
Here you go.
Joe Bowen has no idea I have that.
That's cool.
It's just in my house.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's in every LFR video.
Yeah, but the Leafs, they choked in front of nobody.
Yeah, they did.
Maybe they felt the pressure through the cameras.
Could be.
I think it's a made up thing. Listen, the media narrative. I think the worst is remember Steve Simmons came on our show friggin' 11 years ago, and he said Darcy Tucker knew where the commas were.
Yeah.
I think newspapers and TV and radio used to poison the minds of some guys who would listen to them, and it's a totally avoidable thing. You don't need to listen to it. And I think for some guys, social media is a huge problem.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's a made up thing at all. I think when they are in those situations, like even in the bubble where there's no crowd, they feel the pressure of the largest fan base in hockey weighing down on them.
Yeah,
They play a little tighter, and I think it's been evident over the last 8 seasons.
There was no COVID shutdown for Twitter. So
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
You know,
like everybody's still, if anything, like we were all together. There's more eyeballs on it, you know, and like there were fans in that. Remember, they brought like 1,000 healthcare workers into the building, and all the tweets mocking them about they put them in the worst position of the pandemic to watch this team and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but like.
yeah.
I feel like they do feel the weight of the situation, what's on their shoulders.
those people
And you know what?
never saw a first or second period Leaf goal.
No, that sucks. I think, by the way, nobody remembered that, and now you've brought it back to the fore.
You're welcome.
And I just want you to thank you for reliving that trauma with me.
Well, because I just had to sit there for like 6 days going, this is happening.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is happening.
So
They're blowing it.
Anyway,
yeah, let's not get down that road.
Nope.
That's not what I was trying to do.
Nope.
What I was trying to do is say Toronto fans can get loud. We can. You just have to go outside the arena. I keep saying that. How many
Buffalo.
How many other teams have 40,000 fans show up for a playoff game?
Right.
Only half of them get in, but there are 40,000 fans that show up to every Toronto Maple Leafs playoff game, whether they're here or not.
Wait, Edmonton.
Edmonton does that.
Because
Yes,
they put a bunch of them in the hall.
they put them in the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, is there not fire code issues with that? Like,
Well, I mean, you know, we make fun of them for that, and then it's like, what is it better to stand in the rain?
yeah,
I've been there, man.
it can be cold there too.
It's not the greatest place to watch a hockey game.
I'm looking at inside the arena is pretty nice though.
Inside is great. Outside, cold, rain.
I guarantee
standing.
Vancouver is going to have one of the best playoff atmospheres
Yeah.
this postseason.
Yeah, they're just going to be rocking.
Yeah,
They
that's
haven't
going to be
been
a
there.
fun city.
What do we think of the clinch shirts?
I didn't see them.
They had T-shirts.
Well, I want to go a different direction
Clinching a playoff spot, and people were dunking on them.
when we come back.
That's a clinch.
Yeah, well, because I mean that to me is on par with Toronto Maple Leafs
Canadian
North
Division.
champs.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you clinched the playoff spot. Sick.
You're
one of half the teams.
I
in the
don't think
league.
you need to sell a T-shirt for clinching a playoff.
Guys,
Yeah,
can you
it's
let
not baseball.
Can you let people just have a good time? Both of you sound curmudgeon-y right now.
Yeah.
If a kid wants that T-shirt, are you going to take that? That's not what winning is, children.
No kid has ever asked for that.
It's a shirt that says their favorite team.
Oh, so it's marketed to children.
And the Leafs should have one. It should be called Clenched, as in clenching.
That's a good one.
I think if the Leafs sold clinch shirts,
I think if the Leafs sell anything,
we would be mocked for years.
Oh my God. The Leafs could make millions and millions of extra dollars if they just finally put their pride aside and were in on the joke.
oh yeah,
Sold, dude, I'd buy a clenched shirt. That's so funny. That's a great idea.
I'm saying, like, listen, if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it, but like, let them celebrate it. When was the last time they were in the playoffs? 2015?
Jesse,
14?
forget editing the show. Put clenched shirts on the store today. Today.
Clenched.
Yeah, we should put that in the SDPN store. That's a good idea.
If you said if they get a point today, they clench?
Yeah, they clench.
Yeah. That's fun.
Is that what it's going to be now?
Clench.
They clench a playoff spot.
Along the media thing and the pressure and that sort of thing, we did get a little off track. You know, when Mitch Marner was interviewed, I think it was this weekend, before morning skate.
It was odd.
He made a comment about how he didn't. It seems as though, and I'm paraphrasing here.
I'll play it. I'll bring it up and
Bring it up, yeah. Seems as though, and I'll introduce here. Seems as though he didn't love the way that his injury was covered. Now, I think it's really important in you know, if you're a Leafs fan, most of the clips that you're going to see or written word that you're going to see is on video, right? Most of it's posted somewhere. So make sure you watch the video first. But I'm curious about what you think hearing this, watching this on the SDP, because he seems kind of ticked.
Well,
I'm going to pull up Steve's tweet.
Yeah, this clip, I quote tweeted it, and then I posted the video, and people were like, "See?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it confirms the way it reads."
You think so, huh?
Oh, he's kidding around. Oh, yeah, he looks miserable. He looks completely miserable. He'll be back. Looks like Saturday, by the way.
Yep.
While we're setting this up, Morgan Riley should be back tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And boy, I post a lot of stuff.
You tweet way too much.
I'm trying to support the business.
Oh,
it's
my
all Agent
gosh.
Provocateur.
Okay, here we go.
You found it?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Hold on. We can read your tweet as well, and then just let me cue the video here. Okay.
I still, by the way, as long as we're stalling for time, unless Jesse found it.
You got it.
What do you want to say?
No, I was just going to say I still like the idea of Marner on his own line.
Okay. So this is what Steve said.
This is the video. Watching it, he just seems ticked that people speculated as to what his injury was, ? Who knows? There's a game tomorrow, and I'm sure everyone, Mitch included, would rather talk about that.
And then let me bring up the video.
Watch this video.
Yeah, and then, by the way, they played a game and they won the game, and no one's talking about
it.
this anymore. But, I mean...
It's worth mentioning.
Well, watch the clip.
Here we go.
How are you feeling first practice in a while?
Yeah, it's great. It feels nice to be back out with the guys, obviously, you know. We want to be around the guys and want to try to be helping out. So it's nice to be back out there and get a sweat with them.
How close do you feel like you are to playing again?
Yeah, it's close. So, you know, just take it day by day. Just keep progressing the right way and, you know, just be ready when the time comes.
When you initially got hurt, did you think you'd be out this long?
I don't know. It's just, you know, didn't really know what was going to happen. And, you know, it's kind of just been what it's been.
Do you see any benefit, Mitch, in getting 2 or 3 weeks to, as you recover, at least recharge the battery to an extent before playoffs?
I think that's how you got to look at it because, you know, we're all competitive in here. We don't want to miss games, especially, you know, this late in the season. So, you know, you can look at it that way, and that's how I've been trying to look at it.
Such a strange play when you got hurt. Like, what happened there? What do you recall?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching every game. You guys have been talking about it every single game, so I think you guys can, you know, say whatever you want. It's behind me now. You know, stuff happen and kind of just go on from it.
You, of course, went through an ankle injury back in 2019-20. What do you recall about that? Because you came back pretty strong back then.
Yeah.
That's a compliment. It's a softball.
Mental's good. I'll let you guys speculate on what you think it is. So.
Is it not a high ankle
I don't
sprain?
know. Whatever you guys want to say it is, but it's behind me now. I'm excited to be back out here with the guys and competing with them again.
Oh, shoving buddies, right?
All right, now
he's
there it
kidding.
is.
That's a guy who's kidding.
Yeah.
He's kidding and loving it.
So okay,
Everyone,
listen.
can we stop?
I think people are entitled to a bad day. I think people are entitled to be grumpy. But I think it is important that, you mentioned Steve Simmons talking about Darcy Tucker knowing where the commas were, right? This is where this all thread comes from. The reason I'm bringing it up is not to make Mitch Marner look bad. He's clearly frustrated. I like that he's frustrated, actually. To me, the frustration...
He's been pissed off all year, and he's been playing fine.
Yeah, well, and I think... No, he wasn't playing fine at the beginning of the year, right?
Well, okay, yeah, sorry.
He's been coming on since early December.
I think he's been fantastic. A lot of Leafs did not have an ideal start.
No.
I think he's been fantastic almost all year.
So... while I do disagree with that vehemently, because the first 2 months of the year I thought he was not up to his part, even though he was still a point a game. I think that Mitch Marner's been a spectacular, incredible Leaf when he's been on the ice this year, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree. But my point is, I'm concerned about when we make this show, who do we make it for?
The fans.
Maddie.
Yeah, we make it for Maddie.
Maddie, she's
yeah,
the fan.
Yeah, we make it so most media, we don't make it for the players. I'm not it's not that I wouldn't be friends with a player, but I'm not oh man, I'm in the media. I hope one of the players notices me. It's not you know what I mean? And I know that there are certain media organizations and certain things where that makes sense, right? Where a player, the media guys arm around the player, that's cool, whatever. But when we bring up these things, it seems to be certain players really get bothered by them, and then certain players completely don't care. Mm-hmm. I look at Mitch talking about the media tells me
he's blocking out the noise,
but he's not.
As he's mentioned many times, he blocks.
And this is the thing,
is that
I don't
sarcasm, Steve.
No, I'm saying what he said verbatim. He blocks out the noise.
I don't think Mitch or the people around him, and Friedrich has mentioned this a lot, not specifically due to Mitch, but just with players in the past. Do not send this player clips. Do not send this player newspaper articles.
Sometimes the people around him got to stop. They got to stop.
Because
that
to me, it's I have to be honest. After Mitch went down, I thought it was business as usual. For us, and we're not the major TSNs and Sportsnets or whatever. Even during the games, I don't remember the commentators talking about it all that much. I don't remember the intermission panels talking about it all that much.
He was in the press box. Where, as far as I know, they don't have the sound on because the game's going on beneath them. What do you mean you heard what he said?
I have
do you have a friggin' ear trumpet going up to, you're listening to what Chris Cuthbert said? Stop!
When he says, I watch the games and I hear what you guys are talking about, my injury, I have no idea what he's talking about.
I don't either. I don't think anybody did talk about it.
I don't know a specific instance where anybody was talking about his injury in a negative way.
But you don't have to talk about it.
Also, it's not... Shit happens. It's
right.
All anyone said was the first few games without him? Jeez, Leafs could sure use Mitch right now. Leafs could sure use Mitch right now. Yeah. I don't understand it. Listen, someone
back to that. I think somebody must have sent him something that he saw some sort of clip and he got
and they got to stop.
Yeah,
I think the thing is that this is this year in particular is an important one for the Leafs because we're now seeing the maturation of the core three, these young guys that are in their mid to late 20s now and need to succeed. Mm-hmm. And Mitch's contract's up in he can start negotiating with the Leafs July 1st,
which is not a big deal for most players, but he's a star, so we start talking about it way ahead of time.
Exactly,
he's a star. He's an extraordinarily good. Holy shit. He's a great player, and the team needs him. Send him this clip. Mitch Marner's fucking incredible.
I think.
What else do you need?
Yeah, I think it's just that my concern in seeing a clip like that, and again, everybody's entitled to a bad day, is a pissed off Mitch Marner playing pissed off. Great, that's awesome. But that's the kind of shit that he doesn't need around. Nobody needs that. Nobody. David Kampf doesn't need that around playoff time.
Right.
I think a lot of people will disagree with this. Just leading up to Marner's injury, it's the best he's ever played.
Yes.
No,
the best.
The best Marner ever played is when he set the all-time franchise record for a point streak.
Well, Jesse, I didn't get to watch that game. So
I mean, like
I'm
that
a little
entire
bitter about it.
That entire stretch.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
you know what? He was really good during that stretch. I still disagree. I think leading up to that injury, he was setting up plays. He's got a more versatile scoring touch than he's ever had. He was actually like finishing checks and hitting guys, and he's still responsible defensively. I think getting him back, it's part of the reason that I think he can manage his own line just fine. The issue...
And that's where I want to go, by the way. Expand on that.
Well, the biggest problem I have with it is who the hell plays center. Because if you're taking Domi off of Matthews' line to be Mitch's center, then what's the point of having the three different lines? But I just think the depth on the Leafs would be crazy, and I think it would be a matchup nightmare to have all three of those guys on a different line. It's something that I don't know if they've ever tried, like even going back to when they were rookies.
I like the Bertuzzi, Matthews, Domi setup. It'd be cool to see like Mitch, Matthew Nyes, and I don't know who's going to play center on that.
Why don't you pair him with JT?
Well, I mean,
Mitch,
you can spread the
JT
talent over three lines.
Yeah, no, but then Willie is on a separate line.
Yeah, but one of the better lines in the league over the last couple months in terms of just owning the puck and owning the lion's share of scoring chances has been McMahon, Tavares, Nylander.
But they did it earlier this season.
Yeah,
where we said John Tavares was on the quote third line.
Yeah, there are so many options. There's lots and lots of options. You could do that.
Yeah,
you could do that.
And I still disagree about Mitch Marner's best time of his career. I think during those 2 months he was the best player in the Toronto Maple Leafs for like solid 8.
Best game suited for the playoffs.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right.
I like that. I'm excited about it. I think that clip made a little bit of a stir, and then the Leafs won, and nobody talked about it. And I think it is a microcosm of, listen, this is a guy that's been in this system for what, 8, 9, 10 years.
Drafted 9 years ago. Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
So I can understand that there'd be a little bit of.
Marner was drafted 9 years ago.
I know.
All right, one 2-minute soundbite in 9 years.
100%. And there's been a couple of, but it's like, I can understand there being a little bit of friction. It's the end of the year. You're coming off a frustrating injury, and I don't really care. I mean, I figured it's an ankle sprain or a high ankle sprain. I don't really care what the injury is as long as he's healthy. But it's going to be. This is, and we said this a couple weeks ago. This is a playoff that Mitch Marner really needs to establish himself as a playoff performer. Nylander has done it. Matthews, after some questions, there were questions, especially after that Montreal series, has done it. Marner had a banger first 3 games against Tampa last year and dropped off a lot. And then in Florida had one game where he scored any points at all.
Yes,
and
Steve,
so
you're the one who always hampers that when people bring up Marner's points from last season. You say, go look past game 3.
Yeah, it's
and they need that.
Well, and then the one game they won against Florida, they won because Marner was good.
Yeah.
Marner won that game by himself.
It's crazy. When you have a player that's that good and makes that much, most of the roads are going to go through him and the other guys that make that much.
Well, and the reason people were like, oh God, like what's the injury? How long is it? He's a star. He's a key part of the team. That's the gig. Isn't that what the money's for?
Also, every other league has injury transparency, and the NHL doing this stupid thing about like upper body injury, undisclosed lower body injury. It's bullshit. Well, we should know guys' injuries for the sake of covering the sport, and like it's a huge thing in the NFL for betting reasons, for gambling. You have to report what a guy has on the injury reports that are due on certain days of the week, and I think there should be a transparency like that with the NHL and every other league.
I don't need to know what a player is going through. I'm less picky about that. If it's enough that he's injured, it's enough that he's out, and I don't even know how you would approach that with the playoffs. The list would be, if there's 20 guys, it'd be 20 guys long.
Yeah,
but they all have something wrong with them.
Yeah, and I think that's what you have to do. Is you have to list the injuries, and if guy's missing a game or if he misses a practice, you have to state this is the reason he misses the practice.
Yeah, but what if you get on the ice with like a completely remorseless psychopath, like insert player here, and they just start targeting that injury?
Yeah, no, but then you're not injured if you're playing, right? Like if you're out with an injury, then you're injured.
Matthew Tkachuk. There's only 2 Tkachuks, and I fucked it up. Matthew Tkachuk played the Stanley Cup final and scored goals with a broken sternum.
Right. So the way the injury designations would work is you designate some guy be questionable to play with blank injury or good to go and no injury. You know, I think it's a very simple thing that other leagues have.
I think there would be a lot more public outcry from people going, this player should not be on the ice.
I think you are overcomplicating it.
Why am I overcomplicating it?
Because I'm telling you, it is a very simple process that happens.
So you're saying don't label it. You're just saying questionable injury.
No, if somebody is playing, then they're healthy and they're good to go. If somebody is questionable leading into the game, coming out of practice, then you label what injury they have.
What if it's Patrice Bergeron and it's a punctured lung, and the public outcry would be insane?
I think we all know that he had a punctured lung at the time. Like we know
we had no idea.
We didn't know that.
We knew he would beat up.
Yeah, so I think you would say that, and then he plays. Like
it's.
And then what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Run down to TD Gardens and stop them?
I don't know. I don't know. But
you're gonna stop him from getting on the ice, Steve?
A lot of people. Oh, I don't listen.
I think the league would
body,
call if the league knew that there was a player taking the ice with a punctured lung. They would.
I don't think the league.
Then maybe they should.
Yeah, maybe they should. Maybe they
the other
should.
side, yes. Then we should disclose this.
I don't disagree.
I think you're accidentally agreeing with me.
You're saying they shouldn't disclose this information because God forbid we get upset.
Oh, I'm saying I don't need it.
You're saying that they shouldn't disclose this because God forbid we get upset that a player goes out there and plays with an injury. And I'm saying you should probably disclose it for both of the reasons. One, we should get upset if he's playing with a punctured lung, and two, there should be full discussion. There should be full transparency about what guys are playing with.
I don't need to know it. I understand why you want to know it.
My
I understand why you want to know it.
Why don't you need to know it?
I don't know. I'm $2 Steve. It's not as big a deal to me.
No. Like for the sake of being a hockey fan, why don't you need to know? You're not providing.
Because I've watched enough hockey to know that everyone is essentially a reanimated corpse come June.
But that doesn't make them ineligible to play. I'm talking about injuries that keep you out of a hockey game.
So if you're not playing, yeah. But yeah, listen, so what does happen in the NHL, and the reason they stopped doing that, they used to do this. They used to just tell you. Used to ask the head coach. The coach would be like, well, he's got a broken thumb.
John Tortorella still does. Well, he had to shit.
Yeah.
Remember that?
But, they stopped doing that because, he's got a broken thumb and he's back in 2 games? Cool. Well, I'm going to slash that hand. And so that, I think that's why it's happened. But I think you do make a good point of, if the player's got a punctured lung, and that is an extreme case, or a broken sternum, perhaps you can't play.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's an insurance
also,
issue.
if a guy is intentionally targeting someone for an injury, it's called a suspension. And
they're not.
And they do that.
Oh, yeah. Now which one of us is being unreasonable? Oh, yeah. Let George Peros handle it.
Because
don't worry. It's fine.
We all watched Leon Draisaitl play on one foot. Like, if somebody is hacking at his foot, it is very apparent.
And that's what the Flames did all series long.
Okay, all right. We're moving on.
And you don't think football players attack a guy's injured ankle? Like,
they do.
Yeah.
Well, if they're going to do it anyway, then it doesn't
I'm just
matter.
saying, maybe tune into something else besides hockey.
Whoa!
Listen, just because I did terribly in my fantasy football doesn't mean I didn't watch, 4 football games.
You didn't make the playoffs in her.
No.
8 out of 10 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Christina from sales, she beat me in the tiebreaker.
The Steve Dangle Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. And listen, if you're feeling a little bit angsty these days, it's because the playoffs are on the horizon.
Is that why?
Yeah. Listen.
It's not that it's always raining?
What if I just like listening to My Chemical Romance?
Could be that.
While it's raining.
Some would see that as an outlet, you see. But I would say that if you're feeling angsty, it has to be playoffs because you're worried about your team and will they succeed or will they not succeed? You know, because the playoffs are a painful combination of I'm enjoying this, but I also am in pain until this game is over. You know what I mean? Right?
The organ music is nice, though.
It is. It's kind of yeah, I like that.
Brings you around.
So here's the deal. If you're feeling a little bit angsty, check out BetterHelp. Here's the thing about it is you're able to hook up with a therapist very, very quickly. And if that doesn't work out, you're not feeling the vibe between the two of you, you can switch. You can also use... you can talk to them via text. You can talk to them via FaceTime. You can talk to them just on the phone. And actually, that's how I get my therapy. I do it over the phone. So much easier. It's one of those things that is easy, it's convenient, it's quick, and it's a lot cheaper than the average cost of therapy. And usually, especially where we are, it's very, very difficult to get a therapist in under 6 to 8 weeks. That's usually the lag time. So if you want to give therapy a try, we've all done it. I still do it. I don't know about you guys, but it's very valuable. So if you want to give it a shot, you should go to betterhelp.com/SDP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/SDP. Chris Ballard, play-by-play broadcaster for the ECHL Newfoundland Growlers, said this: after 3 seasons in Brampton and 5 at home in Newfoundland, it appears my time in the ECHL has come to an end. Very few people actually get to work their dream job, but I did, and I am forever grateful for the opportunity to have broadcasted in our home province's only pro hockey championship alongside an incredible crew of coworkers. Thank you to the fans for watching and listening to our broadcasts each week. It was an honor and the privilege of a lifetime to be the voice of the Growlers, and I genuinely enjoyed interacting with you and sharing our passions together. Thank you for the best 5 years a homer could ask for. The Newfoundland Growlers obviously officially ceased operations yesterday. We've heard rumors and we weren't sure, whatever. After the recording of the show yesterday, that's when it was officially announced. That
There was not a lot of lead up to that.
No, there wasn't.
Nope.
And so Deacon Sports and Entertainment is a company that owned the ECHL Growlers, and they also own Trois Rivières. They were able to offload Trois Rivières. They were not able to sell the Newfoundland Growlers. From what I understand, the building wasn't selling that well.
They were getting like 4,000 fans a game is what I heard.
Yeah, and probably not a very profitable operation. And each ECHL franchises are not cheap.
Well,
so you got to find somebody
especially. They got to fly basically everywhere. They're on an island.
Yeah.
They're on an island, and there's not a whole lot of people on that island with respect to most other major metro cities in North America.
It also speaks to the fact that Canada, and this is a Canadian rule, only Canadian airlines can fly between Canadian cities, which is why traveling within Canada, flying within Canada is so expensive.
And in Chris Johnston's article on this, he was talking about how the Growlers have to subsidize airfare for the visiting team. So that cost goes to the Growlers, and that was just way too much.
And there is another team who had to do that a few years ago in the AHL, and I believe it was the Abbotsford Heat. I think it was the Abbotsford Heat. They were the former farm team of the Calgary Flames, and it felt like the Marlies played them every second day. And a part of me wondered, like, is it because the Marlies are the only team who will play them? Like, it was so weird. They played them an unbelievable amount of time.
So they had to also pay for the travel of the visiting team?
They did. I think it was Abbotsford, or was it somewhere else? Because they have the Canucks now. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of those places where, hey, there's enough people here and they love hockey. Not unlike St. John's, but it's
so far
not
out.
easy to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there was a time when, obviously they had the St. John's Maple Leafs, which were an AHL team for years and years, and that was the Leafs farm team.
They've tried it 1,000 times.
They have. I think that the fact is the costs are up enormously, especially in airfare travel in the last decade. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be difficult to put a team back in Newfoundland without an owner who's willing to accept some losses.
Yeah, burn money.
I just don't know. Like, with an ECHL team, there's obviously local businesses that are going to get in there and support, just like an OHL team. Of
course.
But, the population is not huge in Newfoundland. It's
like
vibrantly, culturally, extraordinarily vibrant.
Well, St. John's is 120, 150,000. Like, there are smaller cities in the East.
Sure, but they're not Canadian travel. And we're not talking about American travel. I'm not talking about Southwest Airlines where you can get on a flight for $60. I'm talking about you can, like, it costs the same for us to fly to Halifax as it does, like, one way, as it does to fly to Florida 4 times.
It affects shipping too. When I was shipping books, I've told this story before. It cost more to send a book to like British Columbia or Halifax than it costs to send a book to Japan. It's unbelievable. But like, because I guess with the travel, you might as well be sending it to Japan.
Yes. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, so it's a shame. I feel for Growlers fans. I feel for the players. I know the players got really involved in the community and really beloved by the community.
Well, and a number of those players are out of a job too.
Yeah,
which was a sort of an underrated factor there. Todd Skirving, one of those guys. He's a free agent right now. I'm wearing one of his shirts right now.
And he was the captain.
He was the captain. So as I understand it, the guys on NHL and AHL contracts, they're MLSE's responsibility, the Leafs and the Marlies, and they can disperse them throughout the ECHL. They can call them up to the AHL. They can put them in AHL.
The people on NHL or AHL deals, they're unable to play in the ECHL.
Oh,
they're not
really?
allowed. Yeah, it's only if you're an ECHL player and on an ECHL deal, you become a free agent.
Well, that's even more complicated.
Yeah, if you're on an NHL or AHL deal and you're on this team, you have to go to one of those higher leagues.
Wow.
So the ECHL free agents now have to find new jobs.
Yeah.
And that league does not pay well.
And there's 6 games remaining in the season, so it's like who wants to load up for the playoffs, I guess? Just can you find somebody to take you?
Would they even be eligible?
Oh, they have to.
Yeah.
I think
they'll
be
be eligible for whatever team they play
Yeah.
for, but it's going to be tough.
Can you imagine? That would be doubly cruel. Oh,
Yeah.
hey, by the way, your team stopped existing, and
No, I know.
and fuck off, you can't go to the playoffs either.
Devil's advocate, what if you're the team who has to play them?
You got a ringer.
Like, well, all of a sudden you got like 6 new guys with 6 games left in the season. You're like, what the?
I'd also I feel bad for the guys whose jobs they're taking. Like, imagine you're a fourth liner on one of these teams and somebody comes in, you're like, fuck, now I'm a healthy scratch.
Well,
Yep.
One of the guys
it's
that was
just
worried
it's
about
so bad.
One of the guys I was worried about is Vyacheslav Peksa. He's a goaltending prospect for the Leafs. The ECHL doesn't churn out a ton of NHL players. Bobby McMahon played ECHL games.
Timothy Liljegren?
He played 1.
Still?
Alexander Burrows played for the Greenville Growl, spelled with several R's. And it doesn't churn out a ton of skaters, but like goalies, it's kind of an important pipeline. And the Leafs have a shitload of goalies, and Peksa
SDA was the other one.
SDA played there.
Yeah, and there's also the thing is too. It's coaching. It's that's where a lot of people get their start as head coaches. Like ECHL, OHL. These are really important grounds for guys that are going to be.
Yeah, I guess Matt Cook doesn't have a job then, eh? He's got no team to coach.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so this is the 4th team that hasn't survived in St. John's, because it's the St. John's Frog Devils, who are a QMJHL team.
I think that's the future. If there's going to be a team there, it's going to have to be the Q.
But like it hasn't worked.
I know. I know.
Like so. No, I'm just saying. Like 4 teams haven't worked now. It's probably not going to work.
Did you call them the Frog Devils?
That's what they were called.
Fog Devils.
Fog
Sorry. I said Frog Devils.
I was
right?
like, wait.
It's the Fog Devils, the Ice Caps, the Maple Leafs, and now the Growlers. That's 4 teams. I don't think hockey works when you got to do that travel. Like probably the local hockey works when it's centered around the islands, the East Coast there. But when you have to play teams who are provinces away, it seems like it's just not viable.
Senior hockey's alive and well. That was the Texan Terry Ryan yesterday, and he was saying as much. The locals are there to support. They talk about Bobby McMahon like he played there half a decade. He played there like a handful of games. It sucks. I don't know what the solution is. Well, I know that there's enough people there to support a team, a normal team, but they're not under normal circumstances.
I wonder too about what the Leafs are going to do, because the Leafs do need an ECHL team.
Yeah, it's important.
So they need to be aligned with somebody. Now, they don't need to own it, but it should be something that they are able to, have an agreement with, like they did with the Growlers. The Growlers were loosely associated, but it was never an MLSE team.
The Growlers lost an entire season because of COVID, and it screwed up a lot of people's development.
Yeah.
You know who might still be in the Leafs organization and not playing for a divisional rival?
Brazeau.
Justin Brazeau.
Yeah.
Who looks pretty fucking good for the Bruins.
Yeah.
Oh.
He got a stinger last night. I don't know if he made
he?
it back into the game, but who doesn't this time of year? Either way, I'm curious to see what the Leafs do about this. I thought that maybe they would jump in on that and at least grab the franchise and move it. but it might just be cheaper to start a new one if they wanted to own one themselves. I also know that the reason that, the whole thing, that the argument against the WNBA team in Toronto was one of the owners didn't want another money-losing franchise on the books. And we can debate the merits of that or not, because TFC loses money, Argos lose money. So they didn't want another one. So if they, MLSE's probably not looking at this and going, yeah, let's buy an ECHL team, even though they probably can light the money.
Yeah, Rogers and Bell also just didn't want to give up the Scotiabank dates. They want to give it to women's basketball, and it was awful.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think we also need, frankly, on that front, I think we need a new stadium downtown.
Toronto lacks the good 13,000 seat stadium.
Yep.
We
do.
14 maybe-ish,
Well, I just feel like, wait, didn't they announce they're going to do renovations at Coca-Cola Coliseum?
Did they?
I don't remember, because the solution should be tearing that place down.
Making it actually.
Well, it's 100 years old.
Dude,
right?
It's so old and it smells like horse poo. Tear it down. Yeah. It does. It smells like.
Well, that's where they store the horses.
That's where they put the horses in the horses poo.
If anybody's not familiar with Toronto, they store the police horses where our AHL team plays.
Yes, and have for 100 years.
If you walk there, you're getting close because you smell horse poo. And also, the roads stop making sense, and it's a nightmare.
They're not roads
to drive. No,
they're just kind of like pathways.
Oh, I hate it. I oh my God, I've driven to a Marlies game like a couple times. What a fucking mistake.
No, never.
Every single time.
That's why the GO train's right there.
That's the train.
100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're Coca-Cola Coliseum. I mean, that's an expensive solution.
But it's perfect location. The building's there.
I know. But then I think of could they put an ECHL team in Mississauga or Brampton?
Oh, no.
Speaking of places where hockey doesn't work.
Brampton and Mississauga.
There's a bajillion people there. There's 750,000 people.
It's a bigger city.
Cities combined.
Well, Mississauga alone is a bigger city than Winnipeg.
It's comparable.
No, it's bigger.
No, it's more.
No, it's bigger than Winnipeg.
I mean,
it's not comparable. It's 100,000 more.
It's
yes.
5th or 6th in the country,
Yeah.
right?
It's really, 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 really big.
Yeah.
And I've always thought is it still the Hershey Center? Or they call it
Paramount Fine Foods. Mississauga has an arena problem where the location of Paramount Fine Foods is in the worst location possible in Mississauga.
It is the most cumbersome, tiring, tedious place to get to.
There's nothing around it. It's impossible to transit to. They need something where Square One is, where quote downtown Mississauga is more centralized. That would be the perfect location, but there's no land.
It's like if the Leafs played at the Toronto Zoo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's no land left in Mississauga around that area to build an entire stadium.
So I don't know what the solution is there. Does London, Ontario love hockey enough that they could support an ECHL team? What do you try to put one there in that little belt of London, Kitchener, Waterloo? There's a shit ton of people.
That's an interesting solution.
Yeah.
Well, the other option is you head east. Kingston has an OHL team. Belleville has an AHL team. I don't know what you do. Oshawa. We got it.
Well, do they just take over one of the American markets? Do they do
close
that?
by?
It's possible. I just feel like that's a whole other kettle of fish, as they say, because you're crossing the border and all that. The GTA is huge. It really feels like it should be able to work here. You don't need that many people for it to succeed. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But
there's so much competition for the dollar.
That's a huge problem. It's the old story that I've told about my buddy's band, our buddy's band, who Aberdeen. They did the theme song for LFR. They struggled to find venues in Toronto, and then they did a tour of the East Coast, and they ran out of merch.
Yeah, they sold.
No one knew who they were. They were just like, "Hey, we're gonna show up. We're gonna listen to your music. We're gonna support you," and they ran out of merch in 2 days.
Yeah,
or something like that. It's the way I described Saskatoon. There's nothing to do, and everyone's at the nothing.
That's right.
Let's do some trivia. What's
the
the population of Mississauga?
I thought it was 700,000.
I think it's 750 to 8.
Steve, what's your guess?
700,000.
Adam, give me
750 to 8. I'll say 800.
800? It's 717.
Oh, okay.
What's the population of Winnipeg?
650.
750.
749.
Whoa!
Yeah. So,
Get wrecked!
Adam, in 2016, you would have been correct. Mississauga was 721, Winnipeg was 705. But in 2021, the population of those two cities, Mississauga is 717, Winnipeg is 749.
Wow, because Winnipeg over COVID, a lot of people moved there.
Plus
Adam had wheels, he'd be a wagon.
6.3% change.
Wow,
There you go.
That's
The
huge.
population, yeah.
That's huge. Now, I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jesse, can we bring up that the NHL standings again?
Sure.
Because this is an important thing. The Pittsburgh Penguins have been really bad this year. But frankly, they could still make the playoffs because the Midtropolitan it's worse than we thought. We called them the Midtropolitan as a joke. We didn't realize that they would be two good teams and everybody else kind of sucks.
Okay, the Metropolitan sucks. Let's talk about what it really is. The Metro sucks. And Sidney Crosby is absolutely fucked. He's completely insane. What was the number? 16 points in his last 5 games?
Yeah.
What? It's his most over that stretch since March 2013, 11 years ago.
Steve, you have a very good hockey memory.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time when we've had a worse playoff race? Because all of these teams are booty, and none of them deserve a playoff spot.
Watch them go on a run.
I feel like there was a pretty bad one in the West one year, but the Penguins have a legitimate shot with 7 games left. They have 79 points. If they win all 7 games, what would that get them? 93?
That's not a playoff team in some years.
In the majority of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of how many the Leafs had the year they made it with the rookie team. Basically you're gonna get that second wild card if you hit the 90 mark.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's bad. Like, how many games remaining do all the teams have? Can we bring it up?
Yeah, you can pull it up there, Maddie. Pittsburgh's at 75, Islanders at 75, Red Wings at 75, Capitals at 74, Flyers at 76.
Good Lord.
So we got between 6 and 8 games left.
So like if the Capitals win out, so that's what, 16 points? 88, 98? But that's if they win out.
They'd finish with 98 points, yeah.
Every team below the Capitals, well, okay, not every. The 2 teams immediately below the Capitals, they've won their most recent games. The Red Wings won and the Islanders have won 2 straight, but they're both below 500 in their last 10. This race is miserable.
The best team out of all of these teams is the Penguins, who are only 5-3-2.
Yes.
In their last 10.
They've won 2 straight, and it's resurrected their season.
And they're like, oh my gosh, 5-3-2.
Can I also throw out there that the Penguins, before last night, had lost 7 straight games to the Devils. They beat the Rangers and the Devils back-to-back, and half of the team has diarrhea.
Oh.
So they're calling this the Great Diarrhea Run of 2024. At least according
Confirmed?
to apparently the team's very sick. Yeah.
This has not been a good year for that for anyone. And
that's been going around.
No, and the team that we forgot to mention in all of that is the Flyers, who have essentially not won for the better part of a month and are still there.
I was interested. Brian Hayes from Overdrive was on. He was on Sports Center, whatever they call
Overdrive.
it. No, but he was on the Jay Onright's version of Sports Center, whatever that is.
The Jay Onright show.
Jay on SC. I don't know. It's a complicated name. Anyway, he said, after all the John Tortorella press conference stuff, he's like, I find it interesting, and I'm paraphrasing here. He's like, it's always the players, the goalies, the this, the that. When is it the John Tortorella? And they have, and he said, listen, they've had a great year. Nobody thought this was a great team, and they're in a playoff spot, and they got a few games left. Why are we taking this tact?
I'm not gonna rip John Tortorella for having a hard go at his players. It's what he does. I think it's okay for a coach to speak his mind. Every time John Tortorella says something cantankerous, I'm not gonna rip him. What I am gonna say is I'm allowed to have takeaways from his words. Mm-hmm. I'm not 100% convinced him and Danny Briere get along great.
I'm not either. Danny Briere didn't hire him, though, right? Chuck Fletcher did.
I think you're right. And also, he's like, these guys can't play in these situations. I thought it was interesting, the spacing between can't play and situations. He's said that about guys before. I can't remember exactly when or who. I'm almost positive it was with Columbus. He talks about guys not being able to play. I think he said it about Anthony Duclair. I'm not totally sure. But, you know, one thing is when you say guys can't play in these situations, you're just leaving it out there nice and vague for the media and for the fans to look at the highlights and go, well, who's he talking about? And I certainly hope, like I was watching one of the highlights and Jamie Drysdale did not look good on one of the goals. And I'm like, I certainly hope he's not talking about this kid who, like...
Almost certainly he is.
Well...
Because...
Way to make Cutter Gauthier look like the smart one here.
Oh, he's looked like the smart one since day one. The way the Flyers handled the Cutter Gauthier situation, and they were talking about Jamie Drysdale like he's the second coming. Like, listen, Jamie Drysdale's a good player, but you lost the trade. You lost the trade.
If they put more effort into gassing Jamie, if they put as much effort into picking up Jamie Drysdale as they did into cutting down Cutter Gauthier, he'd be in the Norris conversation.
Yeah.
It was just a hit campaign against the kid. And you don't have to love what he did. A lot of it seemed unprofessional and rude. But
oh no, somebody was rude.
In hockey, man, I'm listening to Burke's Law right now.
Is by the way, is Tortorella rude? Just I want to.
He's a rude.
Oh, that's so weird. So he's upset when people are rude to him.
Not bad. Let's not confuse rude person with bad person. But I'm listening to Burke's Law right now, and let's just say hockey has had a history of an absence of tact.
I just find that funny.
I wouldn't worry too much about him being rude.
I find that funny that Tortorella, who is 65 years old, can be rude. That's totally fine.
Is he 65?
Yeah, but kid who just says, you know what, I don't want to even really talk to you guys because I'm ready to leave. I don't want to be a part of this. And Torts is reported to be the reason because he doesn't want to play for him. Oh, that's bad?
Don't draft a college kid. Like, everyone talks about, I don't want to sign a Russian kid because he might stay in Russia. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, he might. Or you might draft a college kid who can just stay at school and doesn't feel like signing with you. Zach Hyman did that.
Yeah, that's why the Leafs traded Greg McKegg for him.
Greg McKegg in a 7th. Because he was drafted by the Florida Panthers.
Right.
I was going to say that I think the Philadelphia Flyers did a great job in that trade, all things considered.
All things considered.
They didn't call anybody. Nobody knew he was available.
Yeah, no, but getting Jamie Drysdale for a guy who just doesn't want to be in your organization, I think is a tidy piece of work.
I agree. And, maybe I'm getting too far away from the point here. Mm-hmm. That is going to be a fascinating thing for this offseason because, Mike Babcock and the Leafs, him and Dubas very obviously did not see eye to eye. And you could tell by the things that they said, Babs in particular, and the way John Tortorella speaks. I don't think he agrees with the direction of this team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what sucks about this is it's a losing streak, and they're perilously close to losing their playoff spot. And I think that if I was Danny Briere, I would want better leadership from my coach. You don't have to throw a hissy fit in front of the microphone every time. Every once in a while being pissed. Like Sheldon Keefe, and I relate it back to the Leafs because everything relates back to the Leafs. Sheldon Keefe has been out this year about how he feels about things. He was never allowed to be that under the previous administration.
The difference is it's a GM going, say whatever you want.
Right.
It seems very obvious based on the several years prior and this year that he has a license to be who he is.
Sheldon, this is.
Sheldon.
But in Philadelphia, I'd be like, John, can you control your emotions, please? You're the leader. You're 65.
You don't
Time
hire
for you to
John
lead.
Tortorella to get a guy who knows how to handle his emotions.
And if I was Danny Briere, I'd be like, I didn't hire him.
Well, then there you go. He's gone. I have... there's whispers.
Is there whispers?
There's going to be a lot of turnover in the Metro, I think.
I would hope so.
Yeah, Columbus is the one that I keep banging that drum. I think it's going to be the Hunters. But Torts, I think, is one to keep an eye on.
But we should also like remember the expectations on this team. I get it's been it's been a pretty monumental collapse considering I don't remember the time the Flyers weren't in a playoff spot this entire season because they started hot and have rode this playoff spot this entire time and they might fall out of it. But we need to remember that the expectations coming into this season was, hey, maybe we can get Celebrini. We could be that bad.
I agree. I think it's a difficult thing for Tortorella to accept. And I understand. I don't know if either guy is wrong. Like, I think Danny Briere did right by the Flyers organization. I think he had a great trade deadline. And I think John Tortorella wants to win. And what Danny Briere did at the trade deadline does not line up with winning now.
Yes.
And I think coaches want to win always. And I think heads may have been butted in the process.
Right. And I think John Tortorella needs to reevaluate what this season was supposed to be and realize, hey, okay, we get that you guys failed down the stretch, but we understand you're trying to win every game and keep doing that. Like, I would encourage him to keep doing that because that's what he's there to do. And you go into next season with a lot of positive things to take away from this season, even though you failed in the latter half.
The reason I'm smiling, Jesse, is you and Adam just going, Torts isn't going to do any of the things he needs to do. He is John Tortorella. He has lived as John Tortorella. He will die as John Tortorella.
Yeah, and I think that's why he's there in that position.
Yeah.
I think he's done a fantastic job this season.
I don't hate the job he's done. No, not at all.
Like,
No, I think you can't take that away from him.
no,
Not at all.
No,
he's done that by being John Tortorella.
Yeah, just in terms of he needs to change.
I don't think
I don't think that's in the cards.
I'm not asking him to change anything.
Yeah, or just like change his perspective.
No, I think like the way this will end will be his perspective on things. You know, if he looks at it and he says, "Okay, I wanted to make the playoffs and we didn't make the playoffs," like I feel like he'll realize, like, okay, we didn't do enough here, and he'll go into next season with the same attitude that he had last season, where we're trying to win, and now I know what I have in my team, and that it wasn't good enough, even though I thought it might have been.
Good story wrapped up in that. The Islanders had a big lead. Flyers come back with Ivan Fedotov in net. They end up losing
they lost.
in the shootout. They did, but they get a point, which at least helps them escape the other teams nipping at their heels. The problem is the Islanders are one of those teams. But Fedotov looked good. Did you see the funny clip?
Which one?
The one of he was sitting in his net either before overtime or the shootout, and Semyon Varlamov had to skate over and be like, that's my net.
He was in the wrong net. I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that was very funny.
That is awesome. I think there's a just wrapping up the Tortorella thing. I just bring the temperature down a little bit, calm the guys down. They're a little jumpy. You've had terrible goaltending. Not all of that's your fault, right? Most of that is in fact not your fault.
It's true.
Just get them to the postseason. You're going to look like a god. You're going to be nominated for the Jack Adams. You're 4 or 5 games away from it. Just
I think if the Flyers can get into the playoffs, their team is going to look really good because they currently sit last in the league in power play percentage. Like if they had any type of scoring on the power play, like this playoff thing wouldn't even be a question. But where like what jumps out to me is the other side of this special teams is they're 3rd in the league in penalty kill. And they're right up there with the Hurricanes, the Lightning, the Bruins, all of these top Colorado Avalanche are up there. All of these really good teams are really good at having a great penalty kill. And if they get into the playoffs where special teams kind of like goes away a little, and they've shown that they can play great defense when they're down a man. Like I feel like there's a lot of confidence there with that group where they can steal a couple games.
Yep.
I mean, even just the ability to learn from playing against what I assume is going to be the Boston Bruins. Like, you know, it doesn't always lead to future victories, as we've seen, but it'll be good to learn in that environment.
They won't.
Young group.
They won't play the Bruins.
Would they be the second wild card? And they would. Oh, you're right. It'd be the Metro.
They'd play the Hurricanes or the Rangers because the Rangers are currently first, right? So,
oh my God,
that's how it's
every
tough matchup.
ESPN and TNT executive wants Rangers Flyers. Damn.
Imagine you get New York Philly first round. The ratings.
Yeah, no, we need that. We need that. Oh, Tort's back in New York.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, I know what I'm cheering for now. If they're, you know what's funny? We're getting carried away. That would be the matchup if they drop to the second wild card. They're still in the third spot in the Metro, and I believe the team they'd be playing is New York.
No, the Hurricanes.
Damn.
They're either going to
now,
play
okay, here's what we need.
the Hurricanes or the Rangers, it looks like.
So we either need the Rangers to stay there and the Flyers to drop, or we need the Flyers to climb up and the Rangers to drop. We need that.
You don't want Hurricanes Flyers?
It's not as fun.
Yeah.
They know that. Like Hurricanes fans.
Who's more beatable? For the Flyers. Who's the better matchup for them?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
I don't know.
If you had to do like winning probability for the Flyers in each series, like which one's higher against the Rangers or the Hurricanes?
Maybe the Hurricanes, and you just try to bully them.
You think so? Yeah.
That's the only shot. They're not gonna be able to beat them straight up.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna be able to beat either team straight up. And I just like their.
Although, what a story that would be.
Oh my God!
Can you imagine 20
Of course.
points behind them?
Well, it'd be bloody Florida last year against Boston.
Oh yeah, I want a New York Philly, and I think Carolina will handle Philadelphia better than New York would. I do think Carolina or New York would advance.
Both teams beat them,
but I think Carolina plays the more defensively smothering game, and the Flyers can't score a lot of goals anyway most of the time. So, you know what I mean?
Carolina needed one thing, and that was goaltending. And
they are getting it.
They've got it for several months now.
Frederik Andersen, baby.
Like Chekhov has picked up his socks too.
If Carolina can survive what they had to survive with that atrocious goaltending, like no offense to the New York Rangers, but they have the edge in that division for me.
Yeah,
because they had horrific goaltending for 3 or 4 months.
It was a long time.
And the Rangers are a great team, but I also think the Rangers and Flyers are going to get into it in a physical way that I don't think Carolina necessarily would.
It'll be better TV.
It'll be way better TV.
Sorry,
It'll
Rangers
be war.
Flyers is better TV.
It'll be war. Hey, I was saying on the stream last night, I'm like, we're always talking about the matchups we want. What are the matchups we don't want? Like, what could be the most boring matchup in the playoffs if they started today? Who do you not want to see playing each other? And a lot of people were talking about, what was it? I'm trying to think of what came up last night. I think it was sort of like, it was mostly Western Conference, and it would be something along the lines of, Los Angeles and Winnipeg, or Vegas, Los Angeles. If Vegas is on a tear, by the way, beat up on the Canucks pretty good last night. There was a lot of that because they do play that kind of ground up game. You know what I mean? And LA is going to play that kind of game if they make the playoffs, assuming they do. They're only 3 points up on the Blues.
Yeah, no, if you're trying to sell the game, you want the Kings to lose as fast as possible, but they're playing exactly the sort of hockey you need to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Kings have lost 3 straight. The Golden Knights are 7-2-1 in their last 10.
Isn't the turnaround for teams this year like breakneck?
It is.
I feel like no one just goes 500.
A week ago, everybody was like, man, the Golden Knights stink. And then and now they're great
They were on
again.
the verge of like St. Louis or a Minnesota like taking their playoff spot, and all of a sudden they're gonna face the Oilers and might have home ice against them. Like, it's crazy.
They're 3 points shy of that. And the Canucks have not been great of late. 5-4-1 in their last 10.
They need Demko, right?
Yeah, he's rehabbing.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the best goalies in the league.
All right.
It's going to be, it's hard to find a bad matchup, but there are some teams that are boring. And people were saying, like, if the New York Islanders get in, it's going to be, whoever they play is going to be boring. Right?
I mean, ironically, for, I don't know about Canadian ratings necessarily, but American ratings are like, please don't give me Toronto, Florida.
Yeah. I think underrated. If the Islanders, who are 1 point out of the second wild card spot right now, Washington does have a game in hand. If the Islanders get in, they're playing New York.
Oh, Subway Series.
Yeah.
Love that.
Now, I love that on the outside. Mm-hmm. Is that going to be a good series? Like, they'll go to war, but like the way the Islanders play, they're going to be a boring playoff team. That's what they're supposed to be, right?
That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's what.
So will Nashville.
Can they still do it? Can they? I'm trying to remember if the last time they went to the conference final, they still had Devon Taves. I don't remember if they did. Like, that's a big loss.
I don't remember when he was traded because it was during COVID.
I know. No, there's like
how they ever traded that player is beyond me.
For 2 seconds. Yeah.
Adam, put together a realistic matchup, like something that could happen with the standings. The lowest rated playoff,
like
series.
ratings wise,
television rated playoff
Well,
series,
first off, it's
what
going to
would
be
it
it's going to be in the West Coast because
Yep.
it's a later game.
Winnipeg, LA.
So
That's not a realistic possibility.
Oh,
not a realistic possibility.
Florida.
Winnipeg. So there's Colorado, Winnipeg, which locally would do quite well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's Colorado.
Dallas, Winnipeg locally would do pretty
Dallas,
well.
Winnipeg might be up there.
That's not great.
It's not a great matchup, and it's not because it wouldn't do well in their home markets.
And
but
we're not
nationally,
saying the hockey is
The
not
hockey
good.
would be
We're
fine.
just talking about
No.
TV rating.
Hockey would be awesome.
Dallas, Winnipeg might be it.
So then you've got Vegas, Edmonton, which I think everybody's going to watch because
Oh,
it's Edmonton. I think Vancouver's going to do really well in the national ratings when we're talking about TV audiences because they're such an exciting, fresh thing. When you're new, when you're fresh, and it's like, wow, you're good all of a sudden, people are interested. It was like when the Leafs got in and played against the Caps. People were like, wow, the Leafs, interesting.
If the playoffs start today, are all 4 Canadian teams in different series?
3 Canadian teams.
Nope. 4.
4? Oh, yeah,
Leafs,
Winnipeg.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they are.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, they're not playing each other, which means that they could all be out in the first round.
It could mean the opposite. That'd be neat.
It'd be way better if it was the opposite.
Does it involve Nashville?
Oh, yeah,
Pretty
Nashville.
small market.
So, but Nashville, yeah, smaller city. No offense, Nashville, you're a great city, and boring hockey. Like the Bruins Nashville game last night, I can't tell you how boring that was.
I don't know if you even watched any of it.
I
the
just-
stream was just
I just started talking
chatting.
shit on the stream. It was so boring.
on Twitch there's the category of stream and it's called just chatting. That's what it felt like.
I was just chatting.
It was the just chatting.
I was
stream.
for sure just chatting.
It was good.
There was no goals, guys, until 7 minutes left in the third. Like, it was bad. And it wasn't like it was an exciting, like, David Pasternak had a couple chances. Ryan O'Reilly had a couple chances, but there was nothing going on. It was all like, neutral zone takeaway, neutral zone takeaway. Oh, my God. Oh, we pushed him off into the corner. Ooh, that's crazy. Like, it was so
Trotz hockey.
Barry Trotz and very Bruins hockey. The one thing I did say was every time the Preds got on the power play, that Boston penalty kill was crazy, and their first goal was a shorthanded goal.
Who'd you like?
Who did I like?
Outside of the main suspects. Like
Charlie Coyle.
Yeah.
He scored last night. He's always been good. How they got him for a 3rd round pick, I'll never know. I'll never forgive.
Sucks.
I'll never forgive the Leafs for that because how is it that Devon Toews goes for 2 seconds, Charlie Coyle is a 3rd, and the Leafs aren't in on these guys?
Yeah, you need to fleece someone.
Fleece someone, please.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Simply fleece someone.
Simply fleece.
Just do it.
Adam, Carolina, Washington might be a contender for your lowest rated series. I don't know.
So the
East
Caps,
Coast.
No, the Kuznetsov story is cool.
Oh yeah.
I
yeah,
like
but
that.
TV ratings wise,
TV ratings.
it's not great.
They're not too far from each other, right?
No.
I mean, TV ratings, you just take the 2 smallest markets. And, like, dude,
Yeah.
Vegas Edmonton is, I imagine, for American audiences, poison.
I don't.
But it's probably, it might be the best
because
hockey.
the best player in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't featured
He's
him
not
very
the
prominently, though.
Well, because he's not the biggest superstar in terms of personality off the ice, right?
Interesting.
That'd
No
be
one's-
Jamie Benn.
I don't think anybody. Yeah, Jamie Benn. I don't think anybody's accusing Connor McDavid of being like, wow, what a great, enormous. He's a good guy, but I think he's a hockey player, right? I think that you want the stars are like Jack Hughes and like some Quinn Hughes and some of these guys that are like bubbling under the surface. Matthews, I think, has got a bit of a star quality to him.
Ultimately, you need good teams who hate each other.
Yeah,
That is the key to a good match.
I think
Those are
Edmonton Vegas would be money.
2 great teams who hate each other.
I think anybody.
Rematch again from last year.
Yeah. Oilers Kings are 2 great teams who hate each other.
3 times.
Yeah, I think the 2 boring teams in the West, though, are Nashville and LA, and they're in the wild cards. The boring teams in the East that are going to play quote-unquote boring hockey, Philadelphia, I think Carolina can score, and they had a lot of injuries going into last year's playoffs and
They're
still
not
managed
boring.
it.
They're not boring.
Washington. So what's interesting about Washington for me is you can sell that series based on
Ovechkin.
most of the guys. Ovechkin
Yeah,
and TJ
yeah.
Oshie's like 35. You know, it's like, oh, and they're here.
Ovechkin sells it. Like that's a money maker.
Yeah. Panthers, man, I don't know how you can't sell
All
that.
right, so give me now. You really didn't give an answer.
I know, I'm sorry.
You just
It's
kinda-
difficult.
You
It's
just kind of
difficult.
named every series. Give me the highest rated TV series now.
It's going to be the Leafs, whoever they're playing. End of story. It is. It is like and not just in
Canada.
Not just in Canada.
You think in the States?
No, the Leafs are always among the highest rated in the States as well.
Really? A lot of expats?
I think whoever the Rangers play, so let's say it's...
No, but Adam, you can't just name them all.
But if you're asking me to
I'm
say,
giving what's number one.
Now wait, there's the Penguins. There's the Sabres still have an outside shot.
I can't
there's
actually
the
make
Islanders.
I can't make a
Adam,
decision
you
when you
got
guys
it
are
right.
on.
There's the Flyers.
Are you going to do this for 10 minutes again with the lowest?
There's the Devils.
All right.
the Leafs your
So here's
answer?
okay. So my lowest rated
Okay.
is Colorado Winnipeg. Lowest rated is Colorado Winnipeg.
Okay.
No offense to those markets, but no one's accusing Denver or Winnipeg of being a major top 5 city in North America. Okay, fair. So that's what it is. It's
fair.
Doesn't mean it's not good hockey.
One of the only matchups where weed is legal in both markets.
Highest rating in let's say North America.
Relevant.
If it's not the Toronto Maple Leafs and whoever they're playing, it's New York versus Washington.
Oh.
DC versus New York. There's a rivalry there.
Oh, highest
Highest
I
rating.
thought for a second I thought you were. I was like,
No, I moved on.
falling
I
apart your
picked
head.
one.
Yeah.
Now I picked a high.
You get the Rangers, you get all the Rangers stars, plus you get the Washington.
And you get Ovechkin, and you get the
Ovechkin, yeah.
DC's a huge metro area. Huge.
That's good. I like it. TV time with Adam Wild.
Could say
That's
their
what it'll be.
Their metro's booming.
Oh,
Hey, I'm
he's a hip hop listener.
All right.
All right. Hey, let's do the press conference.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
Steve Dangle press conference. You ready for it, Steve?
you
How do you
ready?
feel since it's the press conference? How do you feel about coming back from an ankle injury?
Oh,
I'm kidding.
thanks for asking me your stupid fucking question.
I am just kidding.
Also, I don't listen to anything that you say. So who are you?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
This
That's-
is from Chef Bice. I think it's a very interesting point that they write on our Discord server, sdpn.ca. There's a link to join us on Discord. Actually, it's in the description of every podcast as well. Chef Bice writes, the Leafs play a back-to-back, finishing in Tampa to end the season on the 17th. The Panthers and Bruins both finish on the 16th. The Panthers only play 2 games in the last 5 days of the season. How is extra rest not a competitive advantage?
So I'm fascinated by how these playoffs are going to begin, because the Leafs end on a Wednesday, right? And I was looking at that and going, well, okay, you'd think they want to start on a Saturday or a Wednesday, but that feels way too close. So the playoffs aren't going to begin on the 20th, and they weren't originally going to.
It moved.
It moved, and it does feel kind of shit that the Leafs, like I assume the Leafs are going to play on the Saturday and not the Sunday.
NHL. If you have any type of competence, which you don't very often,
Yep.
you will have the Leafs opening the playoffs on Saturday night.
Right. So they're going to have 2 full days off when the team they're probably going to play against is 3. That's not enough time between the regular season. Like, forget that it's the Leafs for a moment. What are we doing? 2 days? 2 full days?
Thursday, Friday, yeah.
If I'm the Leafs, I'm bringing 2 planes.
And,
And the second one is full of the Marlies.
It's
and they're
2
playing
days
both
off.
of those games.
it's 2 days off after back-to-backs.
2 days off after back-to-backs on the road. And I can't remember who was talking about it. If it was CJ, you might be playing against Florida, so you're just going to stay. Which, do you have the schedule up?
Yeah, I can bring it up.
So, they're going to be, if they stay in Florida, which is their prerogative, but it's also the smart thing to do probably after all that shit, they're going to be away from home for a week leading into the first round of the play. Yeah, there it is. So their last home game is April 13th against Detroit. We're going to be streaming that game. I assume they arrive in Florida on Tuesday to play the Tuesday game against the Panthers. The next night they play the Lightning. Then they probably don't go home. They have Thursday and Friday off, and then they play Saturday. That sucks ass.
It's terrible.
The Leafs play that home game, like you mentioned, on the 13th of April. If they don't get home ice, they probably won't be back in Toronto until April 24th, that Wednesday, because they'll play 2 games in Florida to open the series, and then the Wednesday they'll probably be back, or maybe even the Thursday.
I'm bringing 2 planes.
That's ridiculous.
Samsonov doesn't even dress. Reeves is on the first line. Matthews, Marner, Nylander are barred from the building.
How fun is it that the week before as well, they have back-to-back with travel?
Oh, I hate when the league, I just hate that the league does this, and I know every team has to deal with it. It's just such an obvious competitive disadvantage. Not just back-to-back with travel, Jesse. Road game, day off, home game, road game.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 games in 4 nights. 2 of them are on the road. There's travel. Sucks ass. It sucks. There have been a few really weird and not nice blips on the schedule this year, at very least for the Leafs. I know every team has to deal with it, but
Right, but you couldn't figure out the schedule to where you're playing Pittsburgh and then New Jersey both on the road instead of going Pittsburgh home, New Jersey road, New Jersey home.
it feels like they have so many of those this season. I
Why
don't know
just
what
the
numbers are.
random Jersey road game when you could have gone Pittsburgh home, New Jersey home, then New Jersey on the road with a day off to travel?
Yeah, I liked the COVID season because you had like the MLB setup where you played 2 or 3 games against the team at once.
Leafs played 3 straight games in Edmonton and won them all.
Three almost shutouts. It was 2 shutouts and 1 almost.
With 3
shutout,
different
right?
goalies.
I liked
3 different
that.
goalies.
I liked that.
Was it 3 shutouts or it was
Almost.
2, yeah, it's 3 almost.
I
right?
think Campbell and Hutchinson both got a shutout, and Freddie let in 1.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, the schedule is bad.
Well, yeah, forget the regular season. Just a 2-day gap between the end of the regular season and playoffs feels unusually short. But I also feel like I don't want to get worked up about something because what even is the schedule? I have no idea. Listen, as someone who works covering hockey, I have very few complaints, and I don't expect anyone to give a shit about them.
No, these are minor.
But but every year I try to make plans, and people go, "Are you available? Are you available?" And for a solid month every spring, I have to go, "I don't know," until they release the schedule. But then I'm going to have like a 48-hour turnaround.
Yeah, I actually thought
between the release of the schedule.
I actually thought they delayed the playoffs to the 22nd. Am I wrong?
No, it was originally the 22nd.
They moved it
up
like
to the 20th.
last week or something, or 2 weeks ago. They announced that it's going to be the 20th is the new start date of the playoffs.
Okay.
That sucks.
Which is, I don't remember last time the NHL's changed a major scheduling point like that this deep into the season.
No,
like,
they usually have nearly a week off.
They usually lock it in like last June. Is like, hey, here's the NHL calendar for next season, and this year they're like, okay, we're moving the playoffs to the 20th. So I don't know. I originally saw it from Pierre LeBrun.
Oh, it was LeBrun.
Yeah,
Man.
My bad.
But yeah, so it's gonna be a tough sledding for the Leafs this last month of the season.
They're gonna
The last 2 weeks, sir.
Sports science team is gonna have to work overdrive, and they're gonna have to use their full financial might to. You think I'm joking?
No. Like,
Bring 2 planes.
You're dead serious. Like, nobody should play that Tampa Bay game.
Well,
Oh, absolutely not.
yeah, like that's like a Steve's Kiefer Bellows game.
Right. Does Marshall Rafai want to play 25 minutes?
Yeah, don't
Bellows
even-
isn't under contract.
I know. I wouldn't even dress Sheldon Keefe. I'd be like, somebody else take this. Like, let him have a night
Boucher?
off. Yeah, have Guy Boucher do it. Just stare down the Panthers.
So last year, their final game of the regular season was April 13th, a 3-2 win against the Rangers. They finished with 3 games on the road. They didn't play game 1 against Tampa until after 4 days rest. And this year we're looking at 2.
Now you can bring it up there.
It's a big difference, man.
Wow.
That's last year's schedule.
It's a very big difference.
Oh, they end the season with the
Same
Florida
shit.
the Florida Tampa back-to-backs again.
And this is the normal, by the way, this is the first normal season since COVID. So you notice that it goes to the 29th last year. They were still dealing with fallout from moving the previous seasons too. So this is the first.
No, this year it starts even
That was
later.
the playoffs. That 29th is.
Oh, that's the playoff.
Yeah,
it is later.
The playoffs started April 18th last year.
Weird.
This year's starts later.
It starts later. Yeah.
And then don't they have like a weird break between the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals and the finals? Isn't there like a week off?
There's a set date for when the Stanley Cup finals begins and ends.
I think Frank Saravalli tweeted that the final day of the Stanley Cup final, if it goes to Game 7, is like June 25th, which is also really late.
They don't need to do that.
I don't know what's going on this year.
The start date of the Stanley Cup final can move if like the both series were 4-game sweeps. They can move that up, but there's like a latest start date of it.
Got it. And that makes sense for broadcasting perspective.
And then that last date it's like 2 days before the draft.
Yeah. Every friggin' year, I was a first-year employee at Sportsnet, and they didn't guarantee. Or wouldn't guarantee for months and months if I could go to the best man from my wedding's wedding. And I'm like, dude, I'm in the wedding party. I'm a behind the scenes worker. It doesn't matter that I'm gone. And anyway,
I think your complaint actually is a lot of what the broadcasters would complain about too, because they're holding revenue and like think about it if you're a salesperson.
Well,
we've sold you on a campaign. When does it start? We don't know.
Well, dude, it's like the Super Bowl for several employees at like Sportsnet and all these broadcasters. I've seen them do it. They run around like chickens with their head cut off. Okay, if this game ends this way tonight, it's the worst is when the end of the regular season, the very last day, has all these
playoff
scenarios because of wins and losses. You know, if it ends up sorting itself out before that, then it's not so bad. But if it goes all the way to the last day of the season, there's a 2-day gap, and they got to go, all right, this team and this team and this team and this
We're
team.
setting this broadcast team, and
It's a pain in the ass.
It looks like it's going to end up that way in the East.
Yeah.
It very much looks like this is going to come down to the last day.
It's a pain in the ass.
This next question is from Jazz Jackrabbit. They wanted us to check in on the Art Ross race because for the pod today, remember, early on the season, it seemed like Kucherov was going to run away with the Art Ross, and Steve said not to count out McDavid. Eyes emoji. So if we take a look at the Art Ross race, the points race in the NHL, right now, Nathan McKinnon and Nikita Kucherov are tied for first at 127 each, and Connor McDavid is in third place. Well, tied for, third, because the first two are two people tied at one, so he's third at 126.
I think
he's 1 point back.
No. Go ahead and click on McDavid. How many points shy of 1,000 is he?
Oh, you want that?
Because I noticed everyone's starting to talk about it, and I've been on this shit for months. He is at 976. Now, I know there's not a lot of games.
Yeah, he won't get it.
He probably won't, but he's going to get friggin' close.
I'd like to say something.
Oh,
I'd like to say something.
I think the real story here with Connor McDavid is why he's regressed so much.
Yeah?
Because last year he had 150 points. So, we're talking, imagine Austin Matthews scored 25, 26 less points in the season than he had the previous year.
Yo, does McDavid stink?
I think there's a Western bias. I think there's a Western bias.
Always has been.
Yeah, really. And I feel like we need to be talking about this more. This is a player that scored 150 points last year. Why does he have how much? 20% less points?
More like Sports West.
Am I right?
It's not Sports.
I don't know if you're right on this one, Adam.
No, I'm kidding. Although, did you see the graphic from Sportsnet? People were so upset in the West, as they are.
Who's the people?
Just internet people.
Drew.
Because it was talking about the Art Ross race, Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid, and then it had like an asterisk underneath, and I don't know why. It's like Matthews has 98 points or something, and we're like,
no, it said Matthews has 62 goals, which isn't what the graphic was about. The graphic is not about the Rocket Richard; it's about the Art Ross.
Yeah. So why did they include Matthews?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is people getting confused between what the Art Ross is and what the Rocket is, like the difference between a points trophy and a goals trophy. But
that would assume that people care about the trophies that much, and I don't think they do.
It's odd. It was an odd addition to the graphic. It didn't need to be there.
No, it didn't.
No, what is he in the actual NHL points race? Matthews? Like
Matthews is 8. He has 98 points.
Yeah. Whoa, he just took over the scoring lead.
He and Willie could both get 100 points this year, which would be the first time either of them have got 100 points.
And be nowhere near.
Marner ending on 99 last year is like heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I do feel
he was going to do it this year, too.
For sure he was. And he'll do it next year if he's healthy the whole year. So, but don't ask him about it.
Well, the Toronto media sends their worst and meanest after him.
Absolutely.
Kevin McGrant.
There was a
What a monster.
Lance Hornby.
Mike Seisberger.
two things.
Shout out, Zeiss.
Two things with
Love
the
Zeiss.
point stats going around. Connor McDavid, since we're talking about him, he's about to hit 100 assists in a season.
Goofy.
The 100 assist thing, Sean McIndoe of The Athletic wrote an article about how amazing, like how exclusive it really is to do 100 assists. The only 3 people that ever do it are Gretzky, Orr, and Lemieux. That's the end of the list.
That's great.
We put a lot of emphasis on 60 goals, on 70 goals, like Austin Matthews chasing that down, but a less percentage of NHL players have ever had 100 assists. And this is one of the most exclusive clubs in the entire NHL record book.
So-
and it's 3 people, and it's soon to be 4: McDavid, or Lemieux, Gretzky.
And they're all in the Mount Rushmore conversation of who is
Yeah.
the best player ever. It's
Yeah.
Gretzky, Lemieux, and you maybe throw Howe in there.
So when you're
It's
talking
those
about
4.
so when you're talking about other numbers like 70 goals and just other point numbers, they're not as exclusive.
Yoder never did this?
No.
No.
Wow.
Those other numbers include guys who you're like, oh, maybe he's not even a Hall of Famer.
Like even Joe Thornton. Like he had
No.
his 05-06 was ridiculous.
Nobody's done it except for those 3 guys and soon to be Connor McDavid.
No one in the 80s, Stastny.
None of them.
None of them.
Or-
Okay, I think
or did it-
I think we've established that there's only 3 players.
Yeah,
How long are you two going to go along about this?
We can just keep going back
I'm
and
trying to
forth.
emphasize his greatness.
And so what I will say to that is,
Okay.
what's more impressive? 70 goals if Matthews gets it, or McDavid with 100. McDavid with 100 assists.
No, I think we
Thank you.
learned assists matter more than goals.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think that achievement is more impressive because less people have done it.
I
and
think
the
you're right.
3 people who have done it are 3 of the all-time greatest
Yeah.
players.
That's insane.
I don't disagree. Hold on. How many people have done it? I'm just wondering.
3.
Hold on. So Howe never did it.
So wait,
Lafleur never did it.
No?
Dion never did it.
He never did.
That's
no.
crazy that he did. Brett
Ron
Hull ever do it?
Francis.
No. David Kampf, never done it.
Wow.
Steve Eisenman.
Nick Patan,
Never
never
done
done it.
Dennis Malgin.
Matt Stajan,
Never
never
done
done
it.
it. No.
Wow.
Okay,
Tyler Bozak.
That's
Oh, damn.
insulting. Tyler Bozak got close. He got close.
Maddie's favorite player of all time, Tyler Bozak.
Hey, Clark.
Last stat thing that we throw out: Sidney Crosby. Did we mention him clinching a point a game?
Yeah,
a point
so
a game for
is
his
this
career, and Kyle Dubas going
I
out there and tweeting it.
I had this in our prep yesterday, and then I didn't get to it.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, I get it up. So, Evolving Hockey, and I got to give Evolving Hockey credit here. They're like, not to be pedantic, okay, to be super pedantic. Like,
Yes.
numbers people, I think that's what you have to be,
Yes.
right? Splitting hairs is what numbers are all about.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but it is exhausting.
So what at Evolving Wild tweeted, not to be pedantic. Okay, fine to be pedantic. Points per game is a rate stat. Are the Penguins just going to sit him the rest of the year? And this was a quote tweet of Sportsnet saying that's 19 straight point per game seasons for Sidney Crosby. Crosby is now tied with Wayne Gretzky for the most in NHL history. And Sidney Crosby passed the 82 point mark, so he clinched a point per game.
Yes.
And Evolving Wild didn't realize that and thought he was just at a point per game at this point.
I
of the
really
season.
hope they were kidding.
Yes. And
No, I
It
think
was
they're being
April Fool's
pedantic.
Day.
and in reply to this tweet, Kyle Dubas himself tweeted the Tim Robinson, I think you
sure
should
about
leave.
that?
Are you sure about that? Meme. It's very, very good stuff.
See, this means Kyle Dubas watches I Think You Should Leave, and it means he has a favorite sketch. And
What do you think it is?
I need to know what that is. I don't know. I think, okay, Dubas is really weird, so I think it's the eggs one. The one where the guy has to feed eggs to his little guy, and then the guy shows his butthole in the office.
No, I don't remember that
I
one.
think
There's
it's
so
the eggs
many.
one.
There's like 8 in an episode, and it's a 30-minute episode. They go by so quick. What's so funny?
I'm just laughing
at the sketch.
I think it's nice when Kyle Dubas does tweet, because usually Kyle Dubas is tweeting annoying stuff like philosophical things. You're like, damn it, Kyle, I just want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, every defenseman on the team is injured, and he tweets like
The Chinese farmer.
YouTube video of the Chinese farmer, and it's like, Kyle,
Not now,
Travis
Kyle.
Dermott is our number one D. I don't want to hear it right now.
But you
And
know.
then the world shut down.
Yeah. Anything else, Jesse?
No, we're all good.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. We're gonna wrap up the show there, but we will be back Friday. We'll have a Tampa Bay game to talk about and a playoff race. Can any of the Metropolitan teams go over 500 over a 10-game stretch? We'll find out in this stunning conclusion to your NHL season.
When does U2 visit New York?
Good question.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.